You have already clicked apply on more than 200 jobs. You know the exact number because the counter on your spreadsheet updates every time you submit. 234 as of this morning. You have heard back from 11 of them. 9 were automated rejections that arrived within 4 minutes. 2 ask you to complete a one-way video interview, answering questions to a camera that does not respond. Neither led to a person on the other end of a phone line. LinkedIn has destroyed the job market, but not in the way you think. What looks like a platform connecting candidates to opportunities is actually a system that profits by keeping both sides desperate and clicking. Here is what that destruction actually means in numbers you can verify. Recruiters are now receiving more than 1,000 applications within 24 hours for single job roles. Product manager positions dropped 90% from their peak, falling from 486,000 open roles in March of 2022 to just 43,000 in March of 2025. The average hiring cycle has tripled in length, stretching from 2 to 3 weeks to 2 to 3 months. And more than a third of the job postings you are applying to, 36% globally, are fake listings that were never attached to real open positions. It has been 7 weeks. You spend your mornings tailoring the same resume to slightly different postings. You spend your afternoons refreshing your inbox. The weeks dissolve into a pattern that costs you time you cannot get back and confidence you did not know you were spending. You are doing everything the advice says to do. You are customizing your cover letter. You are using keywords from the job description. You are following up. The silence continues anyway. For 28 years, I sat on the other side of that silence, and I am going to explain what is actually happening to those applications. My name is Desmond Ray. I spent 28 years in corporate talent acquisition, first as a recruiter and later running candidate screening for a large multinational's regional offices. I was the person who read the resume first, ran the phone screen, and decided whose file moved to the next stage and who's got the standard rejection email. I sat on hiring panels for thousands of roles, and I am going to tell you what a Monday morning looked like in that job in 2025. A product manager position opens on Friday afternoon. The posting goes live on LinkedIn at 4 p.m. By Monday at noon, there are 1,043 applications in the system. Picture that as a stack of paper on a desk. It would stand 4 feet tall. If you gave each one 90 seconds, you would spend 26 hours reviewing them without a break. No human being can do that. No hiring manager has 26 uninterrupted hours to spend on a single open role. The system was never designed to handle this volume. So what happens? The resumes go into an applicant tracking system. The system applies filters. It searches for keywords. It checks for degree requirements, years of experience, job titles that match a preset list. It runs knockout questions. Do you have a security clearance? Are you authorized to work in this country? Can you start within 30 days? If the answer to any of those is no, your application stops there. If your resume scores below an 85% match on the criteria the hiring manager entered, your application stops there too. No human sees your name. The system discards it automatically because there is no other way to reduce 1,000 names to a number a person can actually review. This is not a recruiter being lazy. This is a mathematical problem created by a platform that made it free and frictionless to apply to everything. And that platform is LinkedIn. The easy apply button removed the natural cost that used to filter casual applications. It used to take 20 minutes to fill out an online form. It used to require effort that meant you only applied to roles you genuinely wanted. Now it costs 1 click. So applicants click 100 times, 200 times, because the math says if you apply to enough roles, one might respond. And the recruiters drown, and the system automates the drowning into silence. LinkedIn profits from this. Every application you send is an engagement event. Every job posting that floods with applicants tells the platform that its matching algorithm is working. Nobody schemed this in a back room. It is worse than a conspiracy because it is a system nobody had to coordinate. It simply pays better to keep both sides active and overwhelmed than it does to connect one person to one job efficiently. You are not failing to impress a recruiter who has not seen your file. You are being discarded by a yes or no filter before your name ever reaches a human being. Before that button existed, applying for a job cost you 20 minutes. You had to open the company website. You had to fill out fields one at a time. You had to attach documents separately. You had to write a sentence or two explaining why you wanted this particular role. That friction meant you only applied when you meant it. It kept the numbers manageable. It kept the applicant pool smaller and more qualified. It gave a recruiter a chance to actually read what you sent. The button made it free, so applicants started clicking it 200 times, 300 times. The strategy makes sense until you realize what it does to the other side of the desk. Every applicant making that same calculation means the recruiter wakes up to 1,000 names on Monday morning and no human way to review them all. Standard applications sent through LinkedIn now succeed at a rate below 2%. That means if you send 100 applications using that button, 98 of them go nowhere. The volume strategy fails because everyone is using the same volume strategy and the flood buries every file equally. But LinkedIn does not lose. Every time you click that button, it registers as an engagement event. The platform sorts its content into topic clusters now. It rewards consistency over quality. It does not care whether you get hired. It cares whether you stay active, scrolling, clicking, posting, because that is what keeps its advertisers paying. The system optimizes for its own engagement metrics, not for your employment. So you keep applying, because what else are you supposed to do? And the recruiters keep drowning, and both sides stay desperate. Stay active, keep feeding the machine. You are not being ignored because you did something wrong. You are being ignored because the platform made it free to be ignored at scale. The applicant tracking system that discarded your resume is not artificial intelligence. It is a spreadsheet with gates. I watched companies roll these systems out in the early 2000s, and applicants began to speak about them the way you speak about a judge who holds your future. They would ask me what the AI was looking for, how to impress it, whether it could tell if they were lying. The system could not tell anything. It could only count. Here is what actually happens when your application enters one of these systems. The hiring manager sets up a series of knockout questions before the posting ever goes live. Do you have a bachelor's degree? Do you have 5 years of experience? Are you willing to relocate? Can you start within 30 days? Each of those is a yes or no gate. If you answer no to any of them, the system stops processing your file. It does not read your cover letter. It does not look at your accomplishments. It closes the gate and moves to the next name. Then it runs a keyword match. The hiring manager enters a list of required skills, and the system scans your resume for those exact words. If you wrote that you managed a team, but the job description said you needed to lead a team, the system does not recognize those as the same thing. The threshold is set at 85%. If your resume matches 84% of the criteria, the system discards it. No human reviews your application. The math said no, so the answer is no. I have sat in rooms where a hiring manager asked me why a particular candidate never applied, and I had to tell him that the candidate did apply 2 weeks ago, and the system removed them before I ever saw the file. I would pull up the record and find a resume that looked like exactly what we needed, but they used a slightly different word for one of the skills, or they listed their job title as specialist instead of manager, and the system knocked them out at 84%. You send a resume into that system, and you hear nothing back, and you assume you are not good enough. You assume a recruiter read your file and decided you did not measure up. You rewrite your resume. You second-guess your experience. You wonder what you did wrong. What you did wrong was type the word managed instead of led. What you did wrong was score 84% instead of 85. You are blaming yourself for failing to impress a machine that was never capable of being impressed. It can only count. You did not lose to a better candidate. You lost to a keyword. You are spending hours tailoring a resume to impress something that cannot be impressed. The system is not evaluating you, it is counting you. And if the count comes up short by 1 point, you are done before anyone with a pulse ever sees your name. Over a third of the postings you are applying to do not correspond to jobs that actually exist. 36% of job listings globally are fake. They are not positions the company intends to fill. They are advertisements for a company that has no immediate need for the person the advertisement describes. 81% of recruiters admit to posting ghost ads. I watched hiring managers keep a listing live for months after the role was filled. The posting stayed up because every application that came in fed the talent pipeline at no cost to the company. Resumes went into a database. Profiles were filed for future reference. The company built a pool of candidates it could contact later without spending $1 on sourcing. Your application was free market research. Your time was being harvested. Companies post ghost jobs for 3 reasons, and none of them involve hiring you today. The first is pipeline building. They want a list of names in case a similar role opens 6 months from now. The second reason is investor optics. A company that is posting multiple job openings looks like a company that is growing. The third reason is to keep current employees from asking for raises. If a worker sees the company posting their exact role on LinkedIn, they stop asking for more money. They start worrying about being replaced. I have sat in meetings where a hiring manager was told to post a role we had no budget to fill. The position was not approved. There was no headcount. But the department wanted to look busy, and the executives wanted the board to see growth in the hiring pipeline, so the posting went live anyway. Applications came in. Candidates spent hours on their cover letters. The system sent automated acknowledgments. And every single one of those applicants was applying to a job that would never be filled because it was never real. You cannot tell a ghost posting from a real one by looking at it. The description reads the same. The company logo is there. The benefits are listed. The salary range might even be included. The only difference is that no one on the other side of that posting has the authority or the intention to move your application forward. The ghost jobs stay up. They stay live for months. They pull in applications that go nowhere. And every one of those applications registers as engagement, as activity, as proof that the platform is working. You are not losing to better candidates when you apply to a ghost job. You are losing to a posting that was never attached to a chair. The hope you felt when you clicked submit was hope that no outcome could ever fulfill. You have been told that 80% of jobs are never posted publicly. You have been told that the real opportunities live in a hidden market. This is the second myth, and it is just as false as the idea that an intelligent machine is judging your worth. Companies post the vast majority of their open roles. They post them on their own websites. They post them on job boards. They post them on LinkedIn. They do this because they need bodies and seats. A company that has an open role and does not advertise it is a company that wants to stay understaffed. That does not happen often, and it does not happen at scale. The jobs are posted. You can see them. You are applying to them right now. The myth persists because networking and referrals do work, and they work dramatically better than cold applications. A resume that arrives with a name attached, with a sentence from someone the hiring manager already trusts, moves to the top of the pile, not because the job was hidden, but because the signal was clear. I have opened a file that came through a referral and known within 30 seconds that I would be calling this person for a phone screen. I have opened a file that came through the application portal and set it aside after 10 seconds because there were 200 others just like it. When I tell you that network-driven approaches achieve a 15 to 25% success rate, while standard applications stay below 2%, I am not telling you that the network gives you access to jobs that do not appear on LinkedIn. I am telling you that the network gives you access to the recruiter's attention, which is the only scarce resource left in this process. The job was always there. You could always apply. What you could not do was make your name stand out from the other 999 that arrived in the same batch. A referral does that. A referral is not a secret door. It is a spotlight. The jobs are posted. The postings are public. What is not public is the hiring manager's decision about which 15 resumes out of 1,000 they will actually open and read. You do not need an inside connection to find a job. You need an inside connection to be seen while you are applying to the job that everyone else can already see. The hidden job market is not a place. It is a shortcut around the overwhelmed application system that LinkedIn created when it made applying free. You are not locked out of opportunities because you do not know the right people. You are locked out of visibility because the platform made it profitable to drown every recruiter in applications and then sold you the idea that the solution is to click apply even more times. The jobs are not hidden. You are. You send your application on a Tuesday morning. You check your email that afternoon. Nothing. You check again Wednesday. Still nothing. By Friday, you tell yourself that silence probably means rejection, but you are not sure, so you keep checking. A week passes. 2 weeks. You start to assume they moved on, but you never received a rejection email, so you cannot be certain. This is the new normal. The hiring cycle that used to take 2 to 3 weeks now takes 2 to 3 months. The timeline tripled, and nobody sent you a memo. What used to be a standard wait is now so long that you stop believing the job was ever real. I watched this happen from the inside. We would move a candidate through the first phone screen, schedule them for a panel interview 3 weeks out, then wait another 2 weeks for the panel to convene. By the time we were ready to make an offer, 5 weeks had passed since the initial application. We lost good candidates during that stretch. They accepted offers from competitors whose processes moved faster. The extended timeline was not a signal of careful deliberation. It was a signal that our own internal machinery could not move any faster. From your side, that same 5 weeks feels like abandonment. You do not know that the hiring manager is traveling for 3 of those weeks. You do not know that 2 of the panelists are out on medical leave. You do not know that the recruiter is managing 14 other open roles at the same time. All you know is that you applied, you heard nothing, and every day of silence makes you believe a little less that this application will ever lead anywhere. The damage compounds. You are paying rent. you are watching your savings account shrink. Every week without an offer is a week you are pulling from a reserve that does not refill itself. The job you applied for in March is still processing in May, and by May, you are no longer the confident applicant who sent that first email. You are someone who has been looking for 3 months, who has applied to 200 roles, who has started to doubt whether you are even hireable. That doubt shows up in the interview when it finally arrives. It shows up in your salary negotiation. The numbers explain part of it. Product manager roles dropped 90% from their peak. In March of 2022, there were 486,000 open positions. By March of 2025, there were 43,000. Fewer chairs, longer lines. When a single role draws 1,000 applicants, the hiring manager can afford to move slowly because they know the candidates will still be there when they are ready. 2 months of silence is not a rejection. It is not a signal that you did something wrong. It is the new cost of hiring in a system that made applications free and consequences slow. But that knowledge does not pay your rent. It does not stop the erosion of confidence that happens when you spend 90 days wondering whether anyone even remembers your name. I am going to tell you what actually moved a file across my desk in 28 years. A resume that came through a referral had a 15 to 25% chance of leading to an interview. A resume that came through the application portal had a success rate below 2%. The referral did not get you a job you were not qualified for. It got you seen by the person who decides. And being seen is the only thing that matters when 1,000 other names are sitting in the same queue.
Here is what that looked like from my side. A name would arrive in my inbox with a one-sentence note from someone I had worked with before. The note would say, "This person worked on my team for 2 years. They are solid. You should talk to them." That was enough.
I would open the resume and I would read it with attention I did not give to the applications that came through the portal, because the file in front of me now carried a signal the system could not provide. It came with context. It came from someone whose judgment I trusted. The applicant tracking system could not give me that. The algorithm could not tell me whether this candidate would show up on time, whether they would work well with the team, whether they had judgment that does not show up on a resume but matters every day once they are hired. The referral gave me that in one sentence. You do not need to know the hiring manager personally. You do not need to have gone to school with someone on the team. What you need is for your name to arrive with one sentence of context from someone the recruiter already knows. And that person does not have to be a close friend. It can be a former coworker. It can be someone you worked with on a single project 3 years ago. It can be someone you met at a conference who remembered your name when you sent them a message. The connection does not have to be deep. It only has to exist. The second thing that worked was a profile that made the hiring manager want to click. When I reviewed applications, I did not start by reading resumes. I started by scanning LinkedIn profiles. A profile with a professional headshot, with a summary that explained what the candidate actually did, instead of listing vague skills, with work experience that showed results instead of responsibilities. That profile got a longer look. The data backs this. An optimized profile with a professional headshot improves hiring manager click-through rates by up to 2,100%. That is the difference between a profile that looks like everyone else and a profile that signals this person understands how hiring managers make decisions. The counterintuitive part is what you do less of. Fewer applications sent with more precision outperform volume every single time. The applicant who spent 2 hours researching a company, tailoring their resume to the specific role, and finding one person inside the organization to send a brief message to, that applicant had a better chance than the applicant who clicked Easy Apply on 50 jobs in the same afternoon. The platform punishes this because fewer applications means lower engagement metrics. LinkedIn profits when you stay desperate and active. It does not profit when you stop, think, and send one strategic application instead of 20 scattershot ones. I watch candidates succeed by doing exactly this. They would apply to 5 roles in a month instead of 50. They would spend time finding someone at the company who worked in a related department and sending them a message that was not asking for a job, but asking for a conversation about what it was like to work there. Half of those messages went unanswered. But the half that did respond often led to an introduction, and that introduction led to a name in front of a hiring manager with a sentence of context attached. That one introduction did more than 100 applications sent into the void. The system wants you to believe that success is a volume game, that if you just apply to enough roles, one of them will eventually respond. The math does not support that. 2% of 200 applications is 4 responses. 15% of 10 strategic approaches is 1 or 2 interviews, and those interviews come with context that makes the hiring manager take you seriously before you even walk into the room. What moved a file across my desk was not a perfect resume. It was a resume that arrived with a signal I could trust, from a person whose name I recognized, with a profile that told me this candidate understood what hiring managers were actually looking for. The platform cannot provide that signal because the platform makes its money by keeping you clicking, not by getting you hired. This is what I mean when I say the system is not designed for you to win. It is designed to process the most people through the most applications, so the platform can show the highest engagement numbers to its advertisers. What actually worked was stepping off that treadmill entirely and treating job applications the way they were treated before the button made it free. Precision over volume, signal over noise, one name placed in front of one decision maker with one sentence of context that the algorithm could never generate. I want to know how long the longest silence has been for you after you sent an application. Leave that in the comments. The next video breaks down what actually happens in the first 10 seconds a recruiter looks at a resume. It is the natural next step after today. Stop sending volume into a machine that was designed to discard it. Send signal to a person. The system was not built to find the best person for the job. It was built to process the most people through the platform. You are not failing at a game that was designed for you to win.